Air it out! Let's go! In the trenches.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the first week of Inside the Lines. We are here at Opelika High School for the Opelika Benjamin Russell game. My name is Samuel Higgs and I am the sports editor for the Alexander City Outlook and the Dadeville Record, and I am joined by
Anna Sophia Meyer. I'm with the Wetumpka Herald. I'm the sports reporter.
All right, so I get that it's Friday night and obviously we got a bunch of games going on across the county, but last night was the first instance of the high school football season that we had. You were there. You had Hopeville versus Trinity. Kind of tell us how that game went. What did you see from Hopeville in that game last night?
Yeah, so rain definitely played a factor. It was raining up until about the second quarter, and the Trinity Wildcats really looked good last night. They went up 2 touchdowns in the first half. They tried to convert an extra point. The kicker slipped in the field goal. There was trouble with the snap. But by the end of the first half, they went up 12-0. But early in the third quarter, Hopeville struck back and with a touchdown by Tyler Hackett. And they converted 2, and so then the game was within 4, and Hopeville was within striking distance. And then a huge interception by Jayshawn Marshall, a sophomore from Hopeville, allowed Hopeville to gain back the momentum of the game and score on the following drive. They went for 2, but unfortunately did not convert. So it was 14-12 then, with the Hopeville Bulldogs up going into the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, the Wildcats really came out looking strong, and they really controlled the tempo of the game for the rest of the game. And with 30 seconds left in the game, they hit a 32-yard field goal to win the game, to put themselves up by 1 point against the Wildcats. The Wildcats tried to come back with a final scoring drive, but ultimately they were beaten by the clock, and that was the end of their first game.
Well, I mean, obviously you want to start off the first game of the season with a win, but I mean, what a game by Hopeville. I mean, last year, I believe they lost that game by 2 possessions or more, but I mean, I think they really made a statement that, you know, it's not the same team that they were last year. A lot of guys are stepping up. I mean, like you said, Tyler Hackett had, 17 tackles?
Yeah, 17 tackles.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And what grade is he?
Tyler Hackett is a senior. He plays typically on defense, but they also had him, rushing touchdowns in.
No, that's awesome. But like I said, that was last night, and now we're getting into today. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are here at the Benjamin Russell Opelika game. This was my game of the week this week, and I feel like I've given you a little bit of background as to kind of how cool this game is. This is an old-timey rivalry. This was something that their first game was over 100 years ago in 1922. I mean, I think they had a little bit of a gap, but then from the 70s all the way through the 90s, it was just an every year thing. And I mean, it is a close all-time record. I believe it is Opelika that leads 37-35 all time.
Wow.
So this is an old-timey rivalry. As we got the Benjamin Russell Wildcats entering to the field, barking. Yeah. No,
like a Georgia fan.
Not typically what you hear from a Wildcat, but so yes, this is an old-timey rivalry. This is something that was rejuvenated last year, I think, after a 5-year hiatus. So I was there at the game last year, and I mean, to say that Opelika was an extremely talented team last year, They absolutely were. I mean, they have the number one player in the state in Malik Autry, who's now at Auburn. They had another defensive lineman that I believe went to Georgia State. Their leading rushers, Division I. Their leading receiver was Division I. And they just had a couple other Division I pieces. But I think what makes...
Take down the slide.
I think I did. We're good. But, but this is just a completely different game without those seniors in there. But I mean, like, you could obviously make the same argument as far as, you know, Benjamin Russell. They lost some pieces from last year. I mean, mostly pertaining to the offensive line, to their linebacking core. But I mean, they have Zadarian Morgan, who is the number one player in the state for the class of 2026. They have Kingston Prayer, who is the number one player in the class of 2028. Prayer's going to be throwing it to Zadarian Morgan, and I'm interested to see how that connection is tonight. The other thing is, Prayer is also going to be throwing to another guy that he has a connection with, and that is BJ Bedgood, who was a 1,000-yard receiver last year for Montgomery Catholic. So I'm really interested to see how this passing attack looks. But I mean, the biggest thing that we need to look at is how the offensive line is going to play. I mean, you obviously want to establish the run before you can set up a passing game. And I mean, if you look at Montgomery Catholic's stats last year under Kirk Johnson, they had 2,000-yard rushers. So I know that he wants to prioritize the run, and he wants to make sure that they are successful there. So I'm just excited to see the Benjamin Russell offense tonight. I think that
what kind of a factor do you think this atmosphere is going to play in? I mean, looking around us, we can already see fans packing out the stands, people tailgating outside. This is a really awesome high school football environment. How do you think that's going to play in?
I really am interested. I've never seen what the Opelika student section looks like. I might have to ask my buddy at OA News if that's like a real factor. But I mean, anytime you're on the road, it's never easy. So I think the biggest thing for Benjamin Russell to do is just completely eliminate the crowd behind them, really make sure that they focus on what they can do and how they execute. So, I mean, obviously you would much rather be on your home turf, but you can't let the fans get into your head or anything like that, and just control what you can control.
I think a win at an away game for a season opener is also just a huge momentum builder for any team. So I'm really excited to see what the Benjamin Russell Wildcats have in store.
And I do find it really interesting because Kirk Johnson in his entire coaching career has not lost a regular season game.
Wow.
So I don't think he plans on letting that happen tonight, but he's got a formidable foe. It's going to be a difficult game. Even though Opelika does lose a decent amount of their talent, it's still a Class 7A versus a Class 6A. So we'll see how it goes. But that's enough about my game. Let's get into your game of the week. You got Tallahassee versus Montgomery Academy.
Montgomery Academy.
What can you tell me about that matchup?
Yeah, so these are two region champs coming into this matchup. I think it's going to be a really good game. L.A. O'Neill has had some really, really awesome stuff. He's made some really awesome changes at the Tallahassee program and turned them around from a 1-9 team 2 years ago to a 9-3 team that made it all the way to the third round of the playoffs last season in 4A. MA is I believe they're a 3A program, so a little bit of a mismatch here in that regard. But I think these are two really similar teams, and I think it's going to be a coaching battle. MA recently added Ethan McBride, I think at the beginning of last season or maybe the season before that, as their new head coach. He was defensive coordinator for a long time and contributed to their state championship run in 2020 and 2021. So I really think Tallahassee's key here is going to be limiting mistakes in conversations I've had with LA recently. It's all been about those little details and winning the game at the line of scrimmage. But Tallahassee's really got super athletic team, really, really talented, and they've got a lot of focus and a lot of drive going into this game. And I think they're ready to repeat what they did last season and go even further. Absolutely.
And we were just talking about it before, we went on, but quarterback Trent Morris, who's the guy that led the charge last year for Tallahassee, he's going to be out for the beginning stretch of the season as he nurses hand injury.
Yeah, I believe it's a wrist injury.
Yeah, and so that means that a new kid, a new face on campus, not just a new kid in general, but that means John Carter.
Yeah, John Carter's a transfer from Tennessee. I believe he is a junior taking over the starting quarterback position. Him and Trent Morris had a bit of a quarterback battle this season, but because of Trent Morris' injury right before the beginning of the season, just a couple weeks ago, John Carter is now fit into that role. He started at Tiger Night, Tallahassee's jamboree last week. and he had a really, really impressive showing. He looked really comfortable in the pocket, but even when it collapsed, he is a lithe and strong and athletic guy, and he can make a run for it, and he'll give you a run for your money, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I think, you probably know more about this than I do as far as what L.A. O'Neal wants to do offensively, but when you have a new quarterback in, you typically want to rely on your run game. And I mean, Tallahassee returns their leading rusher from a year ago in Tiny Green, so I would personally expect Tiny Green to be, starting off the game, getting a bulk of the carries, just to kind of make it a little bit easier for John Carter to get acclimated to this game. And like you said, Montgomery Academy is a very talented team. They went 10-2 last year. Second round? They went to the second round of the playoffs. So this is a very talented team, but I'm definitely interested to see how that transpires. But I mean, Tallahassee returns a decent amount of their talent from last year's team. I am very excited to see Jaden McKenzie. He's just, you look at all the stuff that's happened over the course of the offseason, he's gotten some attention from some Division I programs. I'm interested to see what he does on both sides of the ball.
Jaden McKenzie is easily one of the best players in the county. He is everywhere on defense and just can really lead a run game for the Tallahassee offense. I'm not at all concerned about the Tallahassee offense. I think this is really going to be a defensive battle. It's going to come down to what defense, at the end of the day, finishes drives and makes teams go 3 and out. Here against MA. MA has a really, really strong quarterback coming back for them. Reed Bryce was a sophomore. He led the team last year in their second round playoff run. He is a really, really athletic guy again. So I think the Tallahassee defense and Jaden McKenzie leading it is really going to play a factor tonight.
Absolutely. Well, we just reviewed our games of the weeks. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back, and then we're going to start talking about some of the other games going on across our coverage area. So watch our little commercial break. And
Hi, my name is Andrew McGreer. I'm the owner of Dunning Roofing. We serve an area from Birmingham to Montgomery to Auburn to Opelika and all the surrounding Lake Martin area. Well, we've been in business for 25 years almost, and we've been growing every year since then. Recently, we won an award by GAF, who's the largest manufacturer of shingles in the world, and we've achieved a Master Elite status. That Master Elite status is critical, not only for us as a company. Only 2% of roofers worldwide ever achieve this designation. We got it because we're exceptional. We look forward to helping you.
And he's really worked really hard at his studying this summer.
And we are back. We just talked about our game of the weeks this past week.
What's up, man?
How we doing, brother?
Are y'all live right now?
Yeah. Oh, shit. So, a little slight interruption, but we just got through our game of the weeks, and now we're going to talk about some of the other games that are going on across the county. I want to hit the game that you're going to tonight, literally 15 minutes right down the road. She's going down to Beauregard for Wetumpka's season opener. And you listen, I could be just not very high on Wetumpka right now, but for some reason I feel like this is a Beauregard game. Tell me why I am wrong on why I am not appreciating Wetumpka this year.
With Bear Woods and the amount of young talent that the Indians have on the sidelines this year, I really think that you're going to be wrong. Wetumpka won this game last year. They had a completely different team. This team is very young, although they do have plenty of returning starters. and plenty of leaders like Walter Myrick, Andrew Boyles. They have a new quarterback coming back, Charlie. He's a sophomore, number 10. I think he's looking really good so far from what I've seen in practice, and Bear Woods has all the confidence in this team. He's really fired up, and Bear Woods is, I've said it before, Bear Woods is an ultimate competitor. He wants to win games, and he's going to put his guys in the position to win games as much as he can. I would say that this is definitely a must-win game for Wetumpka, though. They've gone 1-3 the last couple seasons under Bear Woods. They won this game, like I said, last year, and they have a really young team this year, so it's going to be a huge challenge, and I think this might be a really defining game for the Indians going forward this season.
And I mean, we have it in the notes right now, but Beauregard has a new head coach, and this is a state championship winning coach in Shannon Motley, who comes to the school from Wadley. And I mean, I really wonder, as far as his attack goes, jumping all the way from Class 1A to Class 5A. And I mean, he had the benefit of having an absolutely electric player at Wadley in Jaquez Wilkes, who, I mean, literally ran all over teams in Class 1A. I'm interested to see if that prowess as far as the run game goes is going to be the same kind of identity that he wants to have at Beauregard. So I'm interested to see how this game shakes up to be. I feel like I really don't have to worry about a Bear Woods team defensively. I think every single year they're always able to hold teams, you know, pretty much off the scoreboard for the most part. It's just offensively, I'm wondering who's going to step up. You know, they lose their leading receivers, they lose their leading rusher, they lose their quarterback from a year ago. So I'm interested to see how these new faces really fill into it. One I'm looking forward to is Caleb Ballard. He was a Coosa kid for me, absolutely electric basketball player, and I mean, just gigantic person.
Caleb Ballard has not played very much football in his life, but as soon as he stepped onto the football field, he looks like a football player. He's got crazy arms, crazy vertical. He can jump really high. Just Bear Woods has called him a highlight reel before, and I think that's the best way to describe him as a football player, and even more so on the basketball court. But I really think a huge player for the Indians this year is going to be sophomore running back Jordan Hill. He wears jersey number 4, and he's just been an absolute bell cow in the backfield for the Indians so far in the offseason. I would say he's a very reliable rusher. I think it's going to be up to the line of scrimmage, up to the offensive line to make sure that Jordan Hill is getting the gaps and getting the opportunities in order to make the rest of the plays that I know he can.
And so I want to go into my neck of the woods, and I want to talk about the Reeltown TR Miller game that is happening tonight. This was the only game that Reeltown lost last year. And I mean, if you look at the final score of that game in particular, it looks way worse than it actually was. I believe it was either 28-7 or 28-14. You'd see that and go, wow, was Reeltown really ever in it? They were in it the entire time. It was just two gigantic big plays that resulted in a win for TR Miller. But I know that Reeltown has this one circled, and it's just not going to be easy. TR Miller is the all-time winningest program in Alabama high school football history, and they're a classification above Reeltown. It's not going to be easy, and I mean, I could go down the list of the seniors that they lost from last year's team. They lost Baylor Clayton, who led the state in sacks with 23.5. They lose Tay Martin, who was a first-team All-State wide receiver, went to the North-South All-Star game, nicknamed Mr. Elite. They lose him from the team. They lose both of their linebackers. They lose 4 of their offensive linemen. They lose a really big chunk of last year's team, but I'm still confident in them this year because you bring back junior quarterback Jamarcus Smith. Jamarcus Smith broke almost every single Reeltown passing record as a sophomore last year, which has basically led to Reeltown kind of going for a more balanced attack this year, where they're going to be, you know, not only prioritizing the run like they have in years past, but I mean, if you got a guy who can flick it 80 yards down the field without even really having to step into it, it's pretty legit. But I think this one's going to be a really defining game for the rest of Reeltown season. I think that this could be, I'm interested to see who steps up as a leader. I'm not worried as far as playmakers go, but you lose a lot of leadership from last year's team, so I'm interested to see who fills the bill in that front.
What would you say is Kirk's message to his team coming into this game after that being the only game that they lost last season?
You mean Matt?
Matt.
Yeah, there's two. I got two Coach Johnson. Two Coach
Okay,
Johnson.
Wrong Johnson.
No, listen, say the question again.
Oh, well, what's his message going into this game after this being the only game that Reeltown lost last season?
Well, the big thing whenever I talk to Coach Johnson is whatever happened last year doesn't matter going into this year. This is a new year, a new season, a new team. Don't focus on the emotions that you felt in last year's game. Focus on what's currently happening. Execute what you need to do. Don't turn over the ball. They didn't really do that last year, but they won the turnover battle by a significant margin. But I know that he's going to make sure that everybody's level-headed, not thinking too much about last year's game and just focusing on the task at hand. So I'm interested to see how that game comes to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a score prediction for us?
I don't know. I really don't know because I'm probably gonna have to go T.R. Miller, but narrow. And I mean narrow. I mean like maybe similar to your Trinity Hopeville game last night, where it's like a 1 point or 3 points. I don't think that they're gonna beat them by a touchdown or two like they did last year. But I do think that this will be a game similar to last year where it will define the rest of their season. But we're gonna take another little break, and then we're gonna get back to the rest of the games in the county, and then we're going to wrap up and make sure we get Sports Extra into you guys in tonight. So,
Hi, my name is Andrew McGreer. I'm the owner of Dunning Roofing. We serve an area from Birmingham to Montgomery to Auburn to Opelika and all the surrounding Lake Martin area. Well, we've been in business for 25 years almost, and we've been growing every year since then. Recently, we won an award by GAF, who's the largest manufacturer of shingles in the world, and we've achieved a Master Elite status. That Master Elite status is critical, not only for us as a company. Only 2% of roofers worldwide ever achieve this designation. We got it because we're exceptional. We look forward to helping you.
And we're back. We did a little bit of yapping on that little last section, so we gotta pick up the pace a little bit. Oh, I lost my screen cover. That's nice. But first, I want to we'll go into the Dadeville Elmer County game. Nice little homecoming for Mr. Codwell. I mean, we got that game last year, and it was at Dadeville's turf. And I mean, Elmer County just ran the ball all over Dadeville last year, and I imagine that's the game plan going into this game. I mean, you got two great backs in Tyler Payton and Eli Thames, and I mean, I imagine some other rushers that are going to emerge this year. So I imagine that's the same game plan. But I will say, Dadeville surprisingly has a lot of size for 3A. They got some big guys up on the front, and I think that they're going to be a little offended about last year's matchup, and make sure that doesn't happen again.
I think this Elmer County team is actually going to rely a little bit more on the passing game. I think Gage Davis has really improved as far as getting the ball out and hitting his targets really well. And they have some really great wide receivers as far as Tate McNeely as well. So I think it's going to be a really fun game, and I think this is an Elmer County team with a slightly different identity from last season.
Now I want to go into Horseshoe Bend sacks. Horseshoe Bend is coming off one of their best seasons in a while. They finished with the winning record for the first time in 8 years. They made it to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, and I mean the foundation has been laid for Horseshoe Bend to be successful. But I mean, they lose a lot of seniors from last year's team. There's a lot of freshmen freshmen and a lot of sophomores that are going to be starting for them this week. But they're going against the Sacs team that finished 2-8 last year, brand new head coach. It's going to be, I mean, I just want to see how Horseshoe Bend attacks. They bring back their leading rusher in Braxton Wilson, and I mean, game plan doesn't change as far as what they're going to do offensively. It's hand it to Braxton and watch him go yard. But I'm interested to see what they can do with this kind of newly revamped young team that they got going into this year. You want to talk about Stanhope Elmore?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Stanhope Elmore and Marbury. Stanhope Elmore went 5-5 last season, but again, this is a Stanhope Elmore team with a completely different identity. They're bringing back junior quarterback Davis Foshi, who played his freshman year, I believe. This is his first game back as a Mustang. He was out last season with an injury. And these are two really physical teams. Marbury, unfortunately, did not win a game last season. But either way, Coach Adams has described this as a challenge, and I think this is a really good first game for Stanhope Elmore to kind of see where they're at as far as how their offense is gelling, because there are some new faces on the offensive side. But either way, Jay Stone and Mason James will be the standouts of this team. Jay Stone is a senior defensive back, and Mason James is a senior center as well. Both of them captains, and both of them are just really reliable to lead this Mustang team.
Absolutely. And so now I want to get into Central Coosa Sylacauga. This was not a pretty one last year for Central Coosa. I think the final score ended up being 69-28. But I mean, in my conversations with Coach Flowers, the team that suited up for them last year is not the team that they have now. One of the biggest priorities has been hitting the weight room. I mean, their run defense and run game really wasn't up to Coach Flowers' standards, but he said his guys have just attacked the weight room. His offensive and defensive line have all gotten bigger. He's told me that, you know, the rushing success that Sylacauga had last year is not going to be the same case. So I'm interested to see how that comes to form. He's really confident that this game is going to be a lot closer than it was last year. And I mean, I just really like Coach Flowers' energy at Central Coosa right now. He is a very confident coach, and he's got a lot of really good athletes on the team. So I'm interested to see what this year looks like for Central Coosa. But now let's go into Edgewood versus Lowndes. Tough one.
Yeah,
very tough one.
Edgewood is traveling all the way down to Lounsboro to play Lowndes. This is a game that Edgewood is coming into this game with first-year coach Joe Bruton, his first game with the Wildcats, and they have a completely new system this year after Chad Michael's departure after last season. But it seems like the boys are really buying in, and they like what Bruton is trying to sell them this season. This is a really, really talented Lowndes team, though. They went back to the AISA state championship last year for the 4th year in a row, which is crazy. And they're also bringing back a new coach who started his career at Lowndes about 20 years ago. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Edgewood handles this challenge and how they deal with this adversity.
Absolutely, and we're not going to end it with we still got one more AISA team to talk about, and that is Southern Prep, Southern Preparatory Academy, an 8-man team in Camp Hill. And you know, in my conversations with Coach Bell, I mean, obviously whenever you run an 8-man football team, your numbers aren't going to be, you know, super grand. And I mean, they really aren't this year for Southern Prep. I believe it's 12, 13 kids on the roster right now. But he's confident in his top 9 guys. And I mean, you play 8-man football, so you need 8 guys. I'm interested to see how Braden Pace, is a sophomore quarterback returning to the team. I'm interested to see his growth from his freshman year to his sophomore year. Some new faces are coming in. They lose their leading rusher, their leading receiver, but they do return 3 of their starting offensive linemen from last year. So I know it's going to call for an adjustment as far as game plan goes to a more rushing, run-heavy oriented attack. But I'm interested to see how this goes. It's not going to be easy. They got Cornerstone Christian. Cornerstone Christian won the 8-man state championship last year. But I don't think that they're going to be, it's not going to be the end of the world if they don't win this game, because I mean, they still got a long schedule ahead of them. But I'm interested to see kind of where they stand in the mix. But it looks like we have previewed across all our games. I know Anna Sophia's got to get going to her game, and I got to get ready to cover this Benjamin Russell Opelika game. But thank you guys for tuning in to the first week of Inside the Lines. Also, again, want to send a shout out to Dunning Roofing for being the sponsor of this live stream. If you have any roofing needs, be sure to get into contact with them. But other than that, football's back, baby.
And we'll see you next time.
Football's back. All right, bye, guys.